So this is step 3. We're going to be turning backyard fire pit charcoal into biochar. When you first have charcoal, it is very hungry. It's very thirsty. If you just take this as is and scatter this onto your garden soil, it's going to draw into itself all the nutrition from your garden soil that it can until it is full. Once it's full, which is an indeterminate period of time, it'll be like a slow release fertilizer that will give back to the soil. I can inoculate it with whatever I want, right? And I could even look at that seasonally, right? So if this is early spring and I'm looking more for green growth from my new plants, I can pre-inoculate this with something that's high nitrogen, right? And then this mixed with your garden soil is going to be a slow release fertilizer of nitrogen. If this is more towards the fall and I'm looking to put flowers on my plants, then I can pre-inoculate this with something that's high potassium, and I'm going to give a slow release fertilizer to my plants of potassium. What I'm doing with my fire pit charcoal is I'm trying to do a mix of all the above, right? I want to give it the maximum wide range of nutrition that I can. So I have worm castings, and I've taken to these. See all this white fluff all over here? This is all mycelium that's growing all over this and breaking this down. This is because I sprinkled onto this. This is bulk animal feed. These are grains. So if you live in a rural area, so you could go to an animal feed store, you can probably buy a 50-pound bag of something like this. I went to a bulk producer that they get like a truckload in, and they have this big outdoor barn, and you bring your container to them and they will fill it, and it's by weight, right? So I brought multiple containers, and they filled them with a bulldozer, right? When you're dealing with bulk, it's just simple and it's cheap, right? So I got this for a very affordable price. Anyway, you sprinkle this bulk animal feed over leaves, sticks. The worms are in there. This is just one of my outdoor worm bins, and you get this growth. And so to me, this is just going to be a novel food for the worms, something that I wouldn't normally have in my worm bin, right? I have rotating compost tumblers in my garage where I keep worms as well, and that's more for coffee grounds, offcuts, vegetables, things like that, right? So the inside of those bins is not like this at all, right? So this is something that I get from all the yard waste, right? And then you mix in some grains and you're going to get something novel. Now this bin is a 27-gallon tote. They have these at all the big box stores. You can find these, with these yellow lids. These are all over the place. This is like roughly $10 for this bin, right? And this is not completely full, so I don't have 27 gallons here. I have something less. And when I mix this up, it's going to compress a little bit, and I'm going to have even less still. And I'm looking for a total volume of about 30 gallons. So I have what I've previously taken from my rotating compost tumblers. These are also worm castings, right? Or the vermicompost, because I don't separate my worms out. I just let them go through the whole process, right? They eventually make their way out in my garden, and that's just part of the overall magic. So I had this 5-gallon bucket full mix of vermicompost and leaves. And so this has been sitting now for several weeks, and this is just very soft, right? The worms have been still working on this. The biology that's in the vermicompost has been working on this, and this is going to go into there. And then this one is 50% mix of the vermicompost and wood chips. And the wood chips started, dry, like this, right? And this is what it already is like after a few weeks. And if you've composted before with wood chips, it doesn't break down that fast. But you mix these with worm compost, nice, right? So this is going to get mixed up in here, and I'm going to let this go for another 2 weeks before I even start mixing this in with all my other ingredients for my soil inoculant. Whatever you're going to charge up your charcoal with to turn it from this into biochar, right? So let's say you're going to have compost that you have. Let's say you bought some store-bought like black cow. So that's from cows, and that manure has been composted down. You could use that to charge it with. You got chicken manure, use that to charge it with, or the litter that you scrape up from their coop. You know, put that together with this, and that's all going to charge up the charcoal. It's going to fill in all those hollows within it to make it inoculated with that biology. The two components that you really want out of compost, any compost, this is vermicompost, but any compost you have, is humic acid and fulvic acid. Humic acid is what gives structure to soil, right? So you have powdery soil, humic acid binds it together. It's like glue. And fulvic acid is water soluble, and that is what the plants take up, right? And it is the magic that takes whatever kind of soil you have, clay, it'll help dissolve things, break things down, make that nutrient available for your plants. And that's why you want these things. That's why you put compost into your soil, right? So time. I normally give an inoculant at least 2 weeks to get into the material I'm trying to get it into, right? Can you do it faster? Sure. What you could also do with this, like in these pools or whatever kind of container you have, right here in this 5-gallon bucket, I could make a compost extract, and that is different than a compost tea. Compost tea is using a bubbler, so you're adding in oxygen into the material. Normally a food such as seaweed. The more common thing to add in is sugar. Sometimes people put in both. You put that in there and you are breeding microbial life when you make a compost tea and put that in there, right? Normally bubbling compost tea, that is anywhere from 12, 24, 36 hours. It kind of depends on temperature. Colder the temperature, the harder it is for the microbes to do their thing, right? And so you need a longer time. The hotter it is, it happens faster, right? An extract, you don't require any food. You're not trying to breed the microbial life. You're just extracting that from the compost that you have. So let's say you have cow manure, you have chicken manure, whatever it is you have, you would put that into water, stir it up, right? Stirring will add a little bit of oxygen, but that's not really what you're going for. You're just trying to get out of your compost the water-soluble material, so that when you could pour it over this charcoal, and then that life can then be absorbed into this charcoal. This charcoal starts off very hungry, very thirsty. You burned everything out of it in the fire, right? And it's just hollow and it's waiting to be filled up. It's very absorbent. And so when you pour your compost tea over this, that's all going to get sucked right inside of that material. And that's what you want to have happen. So if you do extracts, that could happen faster. I'm going to mix it in with the inoculant I have. This is more of a balanced mix. This isn't going to be very high nitrogen. This is going to be a blend of different things that the vermicompost will give to me. And that is what's going to go into my charcoal. These mixes I make, when it's at this level, I refer to them as inoculants. And the reason is, this isn't soil yet. This is still just compost, right? It's got some fancy ingredients, but it's just compost, right? It's when you mix it into the clay that you already have, whatever soil you already have, this is your soil, right? And you're just adding organic material into it. But you want to make raised beds, or you want to do whatever you want. You don't want to just buy bagged material. So this is going to take the soil you already have, double it, triple it, quadruple it, right? Because you're adding this extra material into it. So you're going to expand on what you already have. And you're going to take the dead, dried out, lifeless material you're starting with, you're going to inoculate it with this material, and then that's going to put the life into your soil, right? And then now with all that life in there, you want to keep that alive. So you don't want it to dry out. You want to keep it moist. And best of all, you want to have plants in that soil, because plants are what guide what microbial life is going to survive, and will keep pulling up moisture from the ground and will shade it out, prevent compaction from rain, and will keep it from being baked out in the sun. All right, this is everything dumped out now. This is a lot of material, right? And up until this moment, I haven't had to turn any of this. I got my Firepit charcoal, right? And that I just lit on fire, doused it, pulled it out, put it in a bucket, right? After it sat out for a couple days. Everything else is leaves and sticks and things that I fed to the worms, right? I didn't have to turn that compost. The worms went in there and did that all for me. All I had to do was add things in layers, right? This is going to make me, well, I want to get 30 gallons of each of these after I blend them all together. I'm going to put them back in these totes. Anything excess is going to be the start of my new worm bin. It's going to be the new bedding. And then the whole process just starts all over again. All right, so I got out a 4th large pool and set this up so that I could stir each one of these and then just move it over to its neighbor to the left. And just by turning it that way, it's gonna be pretty mixed. But I'm now gonna move them all back, one to the neighbor to the right, and then it's gonna be fully mixed. I'm gonna fill these up as much as I can. This is gonna be my inoculant for my next mix. My next mix is gonna be made out of these wood chips. Each of these small pools is holding about 30 to 40 gallons of wood chip, and that's going to be the next inoculant mix. So this one's all blended and put back into its home. It's going to rest here in this this tote for the next 2 weeks, get all that goodness into the charcoal. But even at this point, I'm going to call it biochar, right? But it's just going to sit here for 2 weeks and get fully inoculated, and then it's good to go to be used as an input for the next soil mix. What remains is this. And this is going to go into one of the starter bins, and we're just doing it again, right? So this is basically just an outdoor worm bin. And the new starter bins are all dusted with the grain mix. So this is all going to grow out mycelium as well. Good batch for the future. So going from backyard fire pit charcoal to biochar.